So if you listen closely to this video and apply everything I'm about to tell you, I'm gonna have you driving men wild on your first, second, third, whatever date, all right? Trust and believe there are ways to enhance our dating experiences. There are ways for you to get better results. And I'm here to let you in on the secrets, the inside information that's going to help you along with that process. Now, let's face it, first dates can sometimes be nerve-wracking, and dates in general, right? Because again, I believe that these are tips that you can use on any date that you're going on with a man. But a lot of times I've seen people and hear the stories of individuals kind of shooting themselves in the foot and not setting themselves up for success. And I want to change that, okay? Now, let me just tell you, let me say up front, you ain't gotta listen to anything I say, in the sense that if there's anything on this list that generally does not sit right with you or you feel pulls you away from who you really are, then of course I would not want you to be something you're not, trying to win some man's over or, create a greater attraction or whatever the case may be. But I just want you to keep an open mind, consider it, and maybe test out a few things here and there, okay? But let's get to one of the first things you can do that will drive men wild on a date. And that is ask him what his favorite color on a woman is and then wear it. Hear me out, okay? So, I've done videos before where it talks about how red is a very great color to wear on a date, okay? And understand that colors in general send signals, they emit a certain kind of energy, and they can impact how people perceive and receive you. So there's the power of colors in that regard. But with me telling you to ask him, you are killing two birds with one stone. Well, I don't like saying killing. So you are writing two letters with one pen, all right? Better than killing birds. So one, by asking him, you are immediately showing a man that you actually care about what he thinks, that you actually take into consideration how he feels, what he enjoys, what he likes. That is extremely attractive, okay? And not only is it extremely attractive, it's extremely rare. That's not a move most women make, okay? Or even think about making. And again, I understand some people might say, well, you got to wear what you like. Of course. But by tapping into what he likes as well, it's going to give you an even greater upper hand. So again, just conveying to him by asking that question that you actually want to look good for him is a powerful, powerful thing. On the second hand, the other letter you're writing with the one pen, you are essentially going to increase your chances of there being a strong attraction because one, I'm going to assume you guys have already met, whether it be online or in passing in person before. So we know there's at least a foundation of attraction there. But then you're wearing a color that he likes on a woman, and that can heighten the attraction. So now that is only going to help set an even more positive mood. And that's kind of the third thing you can say it does is that it creates a positive environment right off the bat. Because again, for a man to see you actually show up wearing the color that he mentioned, that's going to make him feel good. That's going to catch his attention. That's going to draw him in more. Now, let me say this. Do not ask the man what color he likes if you know you have no intention on wearing the color, or if you have colors that are deal breakers for you for whatever reason, right? At least say from the jump, hey, what color would you like on a woman except for boom, boom, boom. Even though I would say if there's really strong exceptions, don't even bother asking. Just show up however you're going to show up. And it's not that a man can't appreciate you if you don't ask that question, but it is something that's out of the norm. And I do believe is going to help set the stage for you in a much positive, better way. And not to mention, let's face it, one of the struggles you could say a woman has when she's going on a date with a man is sometimes being concerned about, does he think I look nice? How is he viewing me right now? And so immediately tapping into something like that you know for a fact he likes because he told you, it's gonna help in that regard as well. So if you're open to it, ask him the color he likes on the woman, not just his favorite color, because favorite color and colors he likes to see on a woman are different. Let me also say this before I move on to the next point. If you do ask him this question, and I applaud you for those who will implement this, and he says, it doesn't matter. You wear whatever you want, whatever you like. All right, cool. You still showed him in just asking that you have the mindset that is willing to consider his feelings and tap into his desires. So you still are going to gain some points just for that, okay? But if he says it's no big deal, because there's going to be some men who really don't care, or maybe don't even know what that color is. All right, so be it, and just go with whatever works best for you. All right, so now here's another thing you can do on a date that is going to drive men wild, and that is smell good. All right, I always make this little joke that, smelling good makes everybody a little bit cuter, at least a little bit, okay? It is a very powerful thing, and I think a lot of people, and I have to acknowledge, men and women, underestimate it, and I don't think they implement it enough. I don't think they place enough investment into ensuring they smell great when they're going out. And so as a woman, I know sometimes maybe a man may not always comment on it, and therefore you may not understand if it is having any impact or not. But I can tell you just by human nature, when you're in the presence of something that smells nice, right, on top of looks good to you, that's only going to compound the attraction. So I have to say this, and I say this with love. Like I've been at various events where sometimes people, women, not only did it not smell good, they smelled a little funky. All right, I'm just being real with y'all. I'm not trying to hurt anyone's feelings, but it's happened, and I'm just like, man, I don't know if it's an issue of no one's telling them, or they just don't care, or they don't invest in it, but that alone. So on one end, smelling good can heighten attraction, but not smelling good can lower attraction. And as a woman, I'm sure you know that with the men that you've dealt with, right? So be mindful of that. Now, here's a key that I believe people should always embrace. When trying to determine what smells good on you, because that's the thing, understand that whether it's perfumes, oils, lotions, whatever, not everything is going to mix the same with everyone's body chemistry. And therefore, you don't get the same end result with the smell. You don't get the same end result as far as how long the nice smell stays on somebody. So you really want to make sure that you're not just assuming that something that's a popular smell is going to be good for you, get it, and then just be done. You actually want to test some things out and see what works. I would also say, in testing things out or in exploring what your scent should be. And think about it like this. Once you find what works, you don't have to get a whole bunch of different stuff. Stick with what works. That's it. Like, have your go-tos. And you can, if you like just wearing different stuff here and there, that's cool, but at least have your go-to. And a great way to discover that go-to is get the opinion of men. Ask men. If you have male friends, if you have male family members, ask them, does this smell good on me? You know what I'm saying? Ask people who are going to be very brutally honest with you, all right? So that you can ensure that it helps. Now, this is hitting my spirit, so I have to say this before we move on. Because I was thinking about some of the women that I said sometimes smell funky, okay? Respectfully. Sometimes we underestimate that the smell we're giving off is due to our diet. If you follow me, you know I'm very big on health and wellness. And I think sometimes people don't realize their issue is internal, okay? And so looking into cleaning up the diet and cleaning up the diet more specifically in what is going to be best for you, because again, different things work for different people. can help with, of course, just overall appearance with skin. It can help with smell. It can help with a lot of different things. I'm not an expert on this. I believe a good thing to look into is chlorophyll. Okay, a chlorophyll supplement. Some have referred to it like an internal deodorant. Okay, that's a good thing to look into to maybe add to your regimen. But making sure that you're doing the internal work as well will help you with heightening your ability to smell nice, smell fresh, all these different things. But smelling good, definitely a powerful thing that will drive a man wild. All right, so now let's keep this going. And this next one, some of y'all might be a little sensitive to it, but hear me out. You know, I'm always going to explain it. So another thing you can do to drive men wild on a date is find ways to create physical touch with him, okay? Now, here's why this is so important. This is not me saying try to move things in a sexual direction, okay? You can be a woman who's abstinent. You can be a woman who's waiting till marriage, whatever the case may be. And I think in those cases, it's probably even more important that you still find ways to create physical touch. Because consider a few things here. One, touchiness is a way that a lot of people evaluate a woman actually being attracted to a man. Her willingness to be close to him, to touch him, to create physical touch, that says a lot. And and if we're not going to be engaging sexually, or let's say you don't believe in kissing on the first few dates, whatever the case may be, he doesn't have any signal beyond you showing up and talking, which you may think is enough, but that doesn't give that man a more confident belief that you are attracted to him and into him. But you being able to create physical touch with him and showing that level of comfort around him does make him feel a lot better, makes him feel more assured that, okay, I think she's into me, she's feeling me, and that can help allow the progression of the dating to continue on. Now, I know for many of you, the concern will be, but if I'm creating this touch, he may take it the wrong way. And then he may try to initiate something sexual. And listen, I can't deny that might happen in some cases, right? But you still are able to, as long as you're not doing it in a compromising setting, right? So like, I'm not going to tell you, invite him back to your home when you're not trying to be intimate and create touch there. Cause yeah, that, inviting him back late at night, then creating physical, that's definitely going to send the wrong signal. We're not talking about that. But let's say it's a date during the day, which I would advise if you're not trying to get sexual. And you guys are in this public place. So one, there's less of a chance of him trying to take it there, even with the physical touch. And then two, even if he then makes a sexual comment or makes a sexual advance, you still can decline. Like you can still say, no, like I basically discuss it. Like, yeah, I like you, but you know, I want to take my time when it comes to that and things of that nature. And if he is genuine about getting to know you and the potential of this relationship, he'll respect it. You know what I'm saying? He'll honor it. Now, if he comes out and says, listen, you can't be touching me like that and not expect me to want more. All right, then stop touching his behind. Like, at that point, take your hands off him. Don't get close. He don't know how to act. He can't control himself. That's a different story. If he's going to be that clear about it, that's a different story. Otherwise, I think there's plenty of men, tons of men who will be receptive to it without it becoming a problem or crossing certain lines. So physical touch is very powerful. And again, it creates a level of comfort and confidence within the situation that can be extremely, extremely beneficial. Oh, and one quick note before I move on to the next point. Maybe I don't need to say this, but I'm just going to be safe. No physical touching below the belt. Now, when I say below the belt, I'm not saying that y'all are going to reach straight for his package. But what I am saying is, like, I'm not saying put your hand on his leg. Not saying that you can't, but this is teetering on the line of sending a certain signal, okay? Above the waist contact would probably be the safer route to take if you are not trying to push things in a sexual direction, okay? So just want to throw that out there just in case anyone was confused about that. All right, so let's keep this going. Another great, powerful thing you can do on a date that will drive men wild is be fun, feminine, and positive, okay? So I understand that I've seen it happen all the time where a lot of women, they go on dates, and dating can be a very nerve-wracking experience for some. It can be very stressful for others. A lot of women go on a date, they're overthinking, they're overanalyzing, they're overly worried, they're in their head. And in doing all of that, they don't realize how they come across energetically, spiritually in that date. They don't realize that they come across more tense. They don't realize they come across way too serious. They may even come across a little detached, which can then send signals of maybe she's not interested. Maybe she doesn't really want to be here, things of that nature. So that in itself can throw off the whole date, because then he may react to that. And now because you don't realize how you were coming across, you think the problem is how he's coming across now, which then causes you to react maybe in a negative way, and it just snowballs from there. So you want to focus on, when you go into the date, really, like, if you got to tell yourself affirmations before you go on that date, do that. If you got to remind yourself, I think a great thing to do if you are a believer is to pray and thank God in advance for what's going to be a positive experience. Okay? Now, positive experience doesn't automatically mean he's going to end up being the man for you. Positive experience doesn't mean he's going to be this amazing man in general. It just means you're going to be able to enjoy yourself, get what you need to get out of it, and that's all. And maybe just getting out of it is just learning that he isn't the guy, but still having a pleasant time, okay? So you want to make sure you get yourself in a very relaxed, calm, positive mindset. And when you are on the date, focus on speaking more in a positive tone, not in a negative tone. Like, for example, I talk about how a lot of times on dating profiles, online dating, you'll have some women who in their bio speak in a very negative tone. I don't want this. I don't like this. I'm not looking for that. It's very negative, right? Rather than I enjoy this. I'm looking forward to this. This is what you get out of me. A much more positive tone. You want to implement that in the date. You want to try to choose your words wisely. Be more mindful. And I know for some of you, it's like, it's too much work. Listen, here's the thing. If you feel like it's too much work to speak and be mindful of how you speak in a positive tone, then chances are you need practice in your everyday life. Okay? Because if you were able to do it in your everyday life, it'd be easy for you when you go on a date. But for many of you, you're not, so you're not accustomed to it. So this feels like having to overwork yourself to accomplish it. So consider that. Consider practicing with friends, with family, in various situations, so that when you get to a place with a man, it can be second nature for you. Okay? So we speak in a positive tone. We want to be fun. Again, laugh. Laugh at the jokes he makes. All right. Maybe it's not the funniest, but maybe a little giggle, you know, little something. Work with the man. He's trying, right? Be lighthearted, because again, that very serious tone is off-putting. Okay. And it can throw the whole date off. And that's not what we want to have happen. So, and I'm not saying, like, if he's flat out just so corny and his jokes are trash or whatever. All right. I don't want you to fake, so to speak, but I want you to be loosened up enough that you can find humor in the little things. Okay. And that will help you come across more fun. And I think all of that then translates into you coming across more feminine, right? And that type of energy, that type of spirit is going to draw most men in. And of course, it's going to be more specific to the type of man that you desire, right? But I have tons of stories, tons of testimonies of women who have hit me up, email, comments saying, I listened to you, I tapped into my feminine energy, and it's working like crazy. I've had a few even say to me, it's working too well, I can't get these men off me. I'm not exaggerating, that's what she said. That's what multiple women have said to me. So it works. It works. And it's another one of those things where if you struggle with tapping into your feminine energy, you want to practice it in your everyday life, because it's not just a great tool as far as grabbing the attention of men or driving them wild. It's going to help you feel more at peace. It's going to help you feel better. It's going to make you feel lighter in your everyday life. And that's a great thing for you to experience. All right. So before I move on, be sure to go to my shop, StefanSpeaksShop.com. I'm about to go on tour really soon, and I'm always doing different events. So at my shop, you'll be able to get tickets to any of the events I'm going to be at coming up. Of course, copies of my books, courses, if you want one-on-one coach, whatever it is, you can find it all at StefanSpeaksShop.com. Click the link in the description or in the comment section. All right, so now, the next thing that you can do that drives men wild on a date is compliment him. That's all. Very simple. All right, it's a nice and easy one. Give the man a compliment or compliments, okay? Now, let me address this first, because some of y'all may say, well, these men don't know how to compliment anymore. And I will acknowledge, I've seen it, I know of it. I know some men are hesitant for various reasons, but don't let his potentially bad habits, or it may not even be a bad habit, it may be a fear, it may be something deeper going on there. Don't let that stop you from showing up the way that you need to show up and implementing things that are going to work in your favor, okay? Now, of course, as I said earlier, I don't want you to be fake. So if there is nothing to compliment him about, right? Too bad, so sad. Like it is what it is, right? And in that situation, if there's nothing to compliment him about, maybe we don't even want another date with this individual. But I want to say in most cases, if we at least make an effort to find something to compliment, we can. All right. And it's just, for most people, it's a fear of being vulnerable in the way of giving that compliment. And so I think being willing to do that is very powerful, because a lot of men, believe it or not, are not accustomed to receiving compliments. Okay. Even really good, like I think sometimes a woman assumes, oh, if he's a really good looking guy, he already has women sweating him all over. One, that's not always true, because if every woman thinks like that, then no one ever gives him a compliment, right? But also, compliments mean more when they're coming from someone you actually like, okay? When someone you have interest in. So even if the last 20 women complimented him, but he's not interested in them, he may want your compliment, and your compliment is going to mean way more to him than theirs did. So don't let that stop you, all right? Not to mention that I believe this is a good practice for what we need to establish foundationally in any potential relationship. And that is the ability to pour into each other, build each other up, compliment each other, and express desire, express interest, all these different things. A lot of people, when they're in a relationship, they stop doing that, or they never did and they never learned how to, right? And that creates problems, or that can contribute to problems in many relationships. It can contribute to problems in a marriage, all right? And so I think it's important that we get comfortable with being able to celebrate each other and point out and express what we like and all these different things. So working on complimenting is going to be a very good thing. Of course, I do think when you can compliment on something physical, what he's wearing, how he looks, whatever, that's really good, because again, one of the things that men are concerned about when they go on a date with a woman is she really attracted to me? Okay. And is the attraction strong enough? Because plenty of guys have gone on dates and to find out the woman wasn't really interested or wasn't attracted enough. And that can be very disappointing. So being able to give those compliments, just as I mentioned, creating physical touch, all that conveys to him desire, interest, and that makes him feel more confident about where we are possibly headed with this potential relationship. All right, so now, this I kind of alluded to earlier, but let's just highlight it again. Another thing for a woman to do that can drive a man wild on a date is just be yourself. All right. And listen, because at the end of the day, like I told you in the beginning, I don't want you to go against who you really are. I don't want you to do things you can't truly sustain over the long run. I do think we have to recognize the difference between who we think we are and what we could actually improve about ourselves, right? And I won't dive too, well, I'll dive a little bit into that for a second. Because if, for example, someone says, well, I just don't give compliments. That's just not who I am. Is that not who you are? Or you're just not comfortable doing it? And there's a deeper rooted issue why you're not comfortable. And to me, that's something that's fixable. If you practiced it and you would get more comfortable with it, and now it can be part of your persona. You just have to get to that place where it's more second nature to you, right? On the flip side, if you are a woman, I like to use this example for some reason. Let's say you're a woman who loves the outdoors. You love outdoorsy stuff, right? Then I wouldn't want you to compromise that part of you and act like you're a woman that loves city life or whatever the case may be, and deny the part of you that loves to be outdoors or in the country or whatever the case may be, trying to win some guy over. No, because then you're at conflict with self, and that's not healthy. So that's kind of an example of the difference between recognizing something that's a part of who we are versus something that we actually can improve, but we think right now we don't fit into that mold, so to speak. And so ultimately, I do want you to be true to yourself. Now, I'm going to be real. Being your true, authentic self ain't going to drive every man wild. Right? I mean, and nothing on this list guarantees you to drive every single last man wild. But what it will ensure is that the man will know what he's signing up for, what he's getting. And if he truly likes you, there will be no conflict or misunderstanding. So many people, so many women and men try to put on a show, put on a costume, right? To, again, win the date or win over this person, being something that they're not. And then eventually your true colors will show. And when they do show, your true self is at conflict with who this person is and who this person thought he was getting in a relationship. We don't want that because that's a recipe for disaster and it's just a waste of time. So if you don't know who you are, then this is a great time in your life to start doing more self-discovery, start spending some more time with yourself. And I honestly think for a lot of people, it's not that we don't know who we are, it's that we have not accepted who we are. There's aspects about ourselves that we've always known, but we've either convinced ourselves that isn't us, or we shouldn't accept it for what it is, or other people have told us it's a problem, but it's not. You know, like for a while, I thought me being overly ambitious was a problem, right? And there were aspects about it that I did need to improve upon, but I had to get out of the mindset of thinking I have to try not to be super ambitious. It's just who I am. I had to accept that, but learn how to nurture it in the right way, okay? So be true to yourself and understand that the person who is truly for you, who you can experience a genuine connection with, they will embrace that person, and that will set you up for much better results. All right, and last but not least, and some of y'all won't like this one, but you know what I'm gonna say, hear me out. Another way to drive a man wild on that date is to express a desire to see him again. All right. I think one of the biggest miscommunications that are occurring right now with dates at times is both sides being afraid to be the one to say, can we see each other again? Or I would love to see you again. All right. And I understand the hesitation in doing that because no one wants to be rejected. No, people aren't always sure of how the other person feels. And so that creates hesitation there. I get it. But the reason why I put this on this list, and I'm not saying, like, if I spoke to men, I would encourage them to do the same thing. But speaking to you as a woman, what I want you to understand, if you'll notice a certain pattern that I stick to, is that expressing desire to a man is very powerful. Showing desire to a man is very powerful. And it can really really pierce the man's heart. It can really draw him in on another level when he knows you actually like him, okay? Like I've said it before, where there was a book where they surveyed people coming out of getting their marriage license, and they asked the husbands, why'd you marry this woman? And one of the most popular answers, if not the most popular answer they received, was because she liked me. And a lot of men are so accustomed to having to do the pursuing and even chasing in some cases and being the one to push things along. And I know some of y'all are like, not these men to date. Yes, the ones who are serious and genuine, they're in that position a lot. And so to have a woman say to them, I would love to see you again, that feels great. And if he has interest, it's definitely going to make him want to go harder, make him want to show up better. And it eliminates a lot of that uncertainty of where do we go from here, okay? And again, I'm not saying like force the issue. I'm not saying constantly like, okay, so when are we gonna see each other again? When are we gonna see each other again? When's our next? No, just a simple, I would love to see you again. That's it. That's all you gotta say. You know what I'm saying? And then from there, if he can't run with that and initiate moving things along, then we can just assume it's just not gonna work and it's just not there. But you did your part, and that's all that matters. So they say you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And it's pretty accurate. The unfortunate reality in today's world is a lot of first impressions stem from what we see online, whether that be through dating apps, through social media. But I still think that even though there may be that first impression digitally, there's always this first impression when we meet in real life, when we go on that first date. And I want to equip you with some tools that you can use to make yourself a lot more attractive, desirable, and have that great first impression that can lead to many more dates with an individual. All right. Now, I know some of you might be saying, listen, I ain't got time to be trying to do this, that, and the other for no man. Listen, don't let pride get in the way of doing things that can make your life easier and better. All right? Plain and simple. And all the suggestions I give you are with love, and you're more than welcome to comment below on your thoughts on what I'm saying, but consider it. And if you're a believer, I'm going to say, pray about what I'm telling you, because I really think if you try these things out, you are going to see some awesome results. So let's get to the first thing you can do to drive men wild on that first date. And that's wear little to no makeup. Let me explain, because I know makeup is a sensitive topic for a lot of women. And I understand that many of you express that you are not wearing makeup for men. I'm not even here to argue that right now. What I will say is, regardless of who you're wearing it for, it has an impact on how a man receives you, especially when you go out on a date. The reality is that in today's world, a lot of women, it may be you, may not be you, are putting on heavier layers of makeup than once upon a time. I always say, like, makeup used to be to enhance, but for many, makeup now transforms. And because of this reality, men have become more skeptical and more cautious when it comes to dealing with a woman who wears a lot of makeup, because he can't trust that when the makeup comes off, you look remotely the same or close to what you did with it. All right. Now, here's the crazy thing, because I don't want y'all to think that's shade, right? Because some women, a lot of women, take the makeup off and they're literally more beautiful. And I'm going to say, in fairness, in my opinion and in the opinions of many men. Some may disagree. The woman may disagree. I don't know. But I have witnessed where I'm like, yo, why does she even wear the makeup? Like, she is stunning without it. But again, I understand some of you still enjoy it, maybe want to switch things up, whatever. So this is not an argument against makeup in general, right? Though some men would argue they wish women would wear less of it altogether. But at least for the first date, you want to tone it down. And you want to focus more on the enhancing and less the transforming. You want to make sure that, listen, when the makeup comes off, it's still close. It still looks close. The makeup was just, again, enhanced version, more blush, eyeliner, whatever y'all put on your face. I'm not, makeup literate, but consider that. Because again, what's also happening is you have some situations where man meets woman, they go on a date, she's wearing all this makeup, and some men may not even be, they may not be aware of what is a lot of makeup on a woman. So anyways, to him, in her current makeup form, he finds her very attractive. They continue to go on more dates. She's continue to wear makeup. But at some point, the makeup has to come off. And there have been many situations where once the makeup came off, he was like, yo, this is not what I thought. And then he walks away. And as messed up as that sounds, the reason why I'm encouraging you to take a different approach is because I don't want your time wasted. Again, we're not here to discuss whether that's fair or men should be this way. No, I'm here to say, listen, this is what happens. And if we want to avoid these types of traps and things that will make you even more hurt in the long run, well, here's a way to go about that. But also the other reason why little to no makeup on that first date is so powerful is because, if he finds you attractive without all this extra stuff, then it's like it's a solidified attraction now. You know what I'm saying? And he feels even more confident about pursuing you because he knows that, again, he's getting a woman that he, in her natural state or close to it, he is very much attracted to. All right? This is kind of hitting me, so I have to mention this. I know of situations where the man is with the woman, but he wants her to wear makeup almost all the time. All right. Now, in fairness, I don't know I haven't spoken to this man. I don't know what his motivation is. But some could argue he's simply not happy with that woman without makeup. He's not willing to leave for whatever reasons. But he's like, well, you got to keep that makeup on if I'm going to deal with this. Now, I'm sorry to laugh a little bit, but I'm saying that's just an unfortunate situation. So again, little to no makeup, very good. Give it a try. I think you'll enjoy the results of it. All right, so second thing now you can wear to drive men wild on that first date is something that's sexy but comfortable. Okay? So here's what I want to start with comfortable. Why that's so important. I have seen many cases of women trying to dress up to appeal to men, but dressing up in ways that don't really sit well with them. They're not really comfortable in. Whether that be they're not comfortable with the look of it, or they're literally not comfortable because of how it feels. Okay? Let's say, for example, you're trying super hard to squeeze into these jeans and it's cutting off some of the air supply, all right? And it's like making things rough for you. Well, here's the thing. If you're uncomfortable, that can then show up in the energy that you're giving off on the date. And the man is not aware. He doesn't know that your jeans are super tight and you're struggling. He doesn't know that your feet are killing you because you're wearing these shoes that might be super cute and you would really want to wear them, but they're not making you feel good. All he knows is you coming across irritable, grumpy, frustrated, whatever it is. Now, you may think you're hiding it well, but a lot of times you're not hiding it as well as you think you are. So for that man, he may wander off into thinking you're not interested, you have a bad attitude. There's so many things, so many negative conclusions that he can come to because he is not fully aware of what's really ailing you in that moment. So it's important that you remain comfortable. Now, when we say sexy, I want you to think first in the context of what you feel sexy in, all right? Because again, it goes back to being comfortable, not just with how it feels, but how it looks to you. If you are wearing something, for example, let's just say a low-cut dress that's showing some cleavage looks really sexy on you to some people. But to you, you feel like it got you looking like your breasts are all hanging out and you just don't, you're a more modest woman than that. This is not really your style. This does not work for you, right? Then again, you're not going to feel sexy. You're going to feel awkward. And it goes back to the energy that you will give off in that awkward feeling. You will not give off an energy of being confident, and understand that being confident makes you look more sexy. Confidence enhances someone's presentation, all right? So you want to find the things that not just maybe are appealing to the eyes and how people perceive it, but again, how you feel in it. If you feel good, if you feel confident, all these different things. And so I would encourage you as a woman to, try different outfits that you like. Find that style, maybe that first date. When I say uniform, I'm not saying wear the same exact thing every first date you go on. But there might be a certain style that when I'm wearing this kind of style, I feel good, I feel sexy, I feel comfortable. And that's like your set style for your first dates. Because again, we want to make that first impression a great impression. And making sure you have the right energy coming across is going to be very important. Oh, now, before I continue, I have a couple more things I want to mention. One, make sure that whatever your style is, let me reverse that a little bit. Don't present a style that ain't you and you're not going to sustain. So this is like the equivalent to where I'll tell a man, don't take women out on dates. And we're talking from the standpoint of cost, all right? An expensive, fancy old restaurant when you like just having Popeyes and liquor at home, right? Like if you're just this simple guy who wants to order pizza all the time, you don't want to misrepresent what you are willing to bring to this potential relationship and how you're willing to go out. You want to try to find something that's closer to your true sustainable way of life, your sustainable lifestyle. So for you as a woman, I would hate for you to come on that first date trying to be all super sexy and wearing, let's say, a little bit more revealing things. And listen, whether you want to wear something that shows cleavage or tight or whatever, I'm not here to, judge that or whatever the case may be. If I'm being honest with y'all, I'm just going to keep it real. I like a woman that dresses sexy. Listen, I know it's not for everybody. I know some may say, well, God said you need to be modest. I get it. This is one of my struggles, all right? I'm just going to keep it real. If you're with me, not only do I like the woman to dress sexy if I'm going on a date, if you become my wife, I'm going to encourage you to dress sexy. That's my thing. But some men are more into modesty. But regardless of what the man is into, whether that be me with the sexy or the man with the modest, you got to present what's true to you, all right? Where you are happy, where you are comfortable, and what you can sustain. Because again, I wouldn't want you coming out on the date trying to be extra sexy when you know very well you don't like dressing like that. And then I get with you, and every time I'm out with you, you want to dress ultra conservative, like some might say an old lady. No offense to old ladies. Let's just scratch the old lady part. Let's just say you don't want to be ultra conservative, all right? If that man is looking for something a little bit more, provocative, so to speak. And then also, understand there's a time and place for everything. So also, yes, even for me, I may like a woman who dresses sexy, but I also understand where are we going? What's the environment we're going to be in? Because that plays a role in dictating how we should dress for this environment. So you want to be mindful of also considering the environment that you're going to be in with this man and how you should show up with your dress code. All right, so let's keep this going. Another thing you can do to drive men wild, another thing you can wear to drive men wild on that first date is to wear red. Now, let me say this. I got this because there was a study that shows that wearing red is very effective. It communicates. Forgive me, I forgot the exact things it communicates. I'm going brain dead right now for a second. But the point is, they found it to be very effective. Now, I don't want to focus on just red. Do I think red is great? Yeah, red is great. But I do suggest, if not red, wearing brighter colors, all right? Wearing what I would call more feminine colors, things that bring out a different kind of energy. I know for a lot of women, there's a tendency to wear black. And I'm not saying that, you know, if you wear black, you're going to ruin your first date or that man won't find you attractive. No, I think that's unreasonable to make a statement like that. But I'm a firm believer that colors emit, not even believer, it's a fact. Colors emit energy. Colors can give off a certain signal. And so the man can, I've run this test with a lot of women where those who tend to wear very dark colors, black, gray, navy blue, all these things. And I tell them, listen, try to wear colorful clothes for this week. Let's see what happens. And it's never failed. They always come back saying they see a difference. They see a difference in how men are responding to them, how people are responding to them, but even better, how they feel themselves. So how we dress affects our energy and mood as well. We may not always be conscious of that, but it's true. It's one of the reasons why businesses make people dress up to come to work, because they know in the context of if you dress too casually, that could affect your work productivity. That could affect how you approach the day and how focused you are. So you want to be mindful of that. But going back to the colors, yes, I do believe that bright colors are good, are positive things to try out. And it's something that I would encourage for you to do in general, not just on your first date. So again, if you are someone who tends to wear dark colors all the time, and again, I'm not saying you gotta get rid of all your dark colors, right? Or all your black dresses. I know some of y'all have these go-to black dresses. I get it. But try it out. Just try it out. You're gonna see. And I definitely think it will have a positive impact on that first date. But as the study says wear red. So you can go all the way with the red or just try some different colors. All right, so let's keep this going. So another thing you can wear to drive men wild on that first date is wear something that accentuates one of your positives. Now, hear me out. Hear me out, okay? Because I know that might be taken the wrong way. So here's the thing. It's not that I'm trying to have you use your body, so to speak. And it's not, and please don't just think it's a body thing, and I'll explain in a second, right? It's that I think, again, when we're trying to make that first impression, I think almost everybody, if not everyone, has certain positives. It might be a nice smile. It might be beautiful eyes. It might be, again, it might be a nice body. It might be nice legs. It might be a nice chest, whatever the case may be. You know, we have different things that do well for us, right? And I think that when we're going on that first date and we're trying to present ourselves in a positive and effective light, I do think that it's wise, it's smart to try to accentuate one of your positives, all right? And so, again, not crossing a line that you feel would, go against your values or anything like that. But let's just say, for example, you have beautiful eyes, or just a very nice structure to your face. But then maybe you wear your hair back in a way that brings out your eyes more. You know what I'm saying? If you have nice lips, maybe wearing the proper lipstick or lip gloss or something that accentuates that. I think these are all good things. Again, I think some people, when they hear it, they might just think I'm trying to tell y'all to give off a sexual energy, so to speak. But it's not really about that. Though I acknowledge that some of your positives might lean more towards the sexual energy, right? Because if you have, let's say, a nice chest and you show cleavage, okay, I get it, all right? So I can understand there's going to be some hesitation depending on what your positive is. But I do think that some of these things can be done in a very subtle way, or at least you can wear outfits that work for you, not against you, all right? Because some people, even if you're not trying to accentuate a positive, some people, their outfit, it made them look worse than they are. It actually hurt them rather than help them. And so I think being mindful of that, and one of the ways to be mindful of the type of outfit that really works well with you is getting the opinion of the opposite sex. I think what I've seen a lot of women do is they go to other women to get their opinion on their outfit, their this and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying you can't talk to your girlfriends. That's cool. But if you're going on a date with a man, it would be wise to get the opinion of other men if you can, because some of you may not have men in your life. You may not have access to that. I get it. But if you do, let them give you some input. Let them give you some insight, because they're going to look at it through the eyes of a man. And again, we're keeping things within the structure or the box of what you're comfortable in, what you're confident in, that doesn't go against who you are, that isn't something that you can't sustain. So we're considering all these things, but hear what they have to say. And I think, again, I know this could be tricky for some, and I don't want to be taken the wrong way, but I do think finding something that really brings out your best is a very good and effective tool to use on that first date. All right, and so now, the fifth thing, the last thing that you can do to drive men wild. And after this, there's some questions I had that were submitted by some of my members from my membership group, which you can join. All right, you can go to receivingmyblessings.com or click the link in the description or the comment section where we do live Q&As. There's modules on healing, tapping into your feminine energy, meeting more relationship-minded men, and so much more. It's an awesome experience, so take advantage of it. Join in. But yes, I got some questions, and excuse me, I lost my train of thought. I'm going to be answering some of those at the end of this. So stay here. Even after I give you this one point, we got some more things to discuss to shed some light on. But the fifth thing you can do to drive men wild is not wear no more than 3-inch heels. I'm sorry, I couldn't not laugh. Listen, so here we go. It's funny. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I'm serious. So listen to what I'm saying. Let's look at this from a couple different angles. So number one, I'm not going to sit there and say that men are looking at your heels and like, oh, it's past 3 inches. Oh, hell no, I ain't dating her, right? No. Or, oh, okay, it's less than 3 inches. She's looking extra good today. No. However, we all know, listen, the height issue is an issue for a lot of people. And I know for most of you, you're probably already trying to choose men who you go on a date with who are already taller than you in heels. Many of you have that standard, so to speak, set. Now, I would argue, and I've said this many times on my tours, I do think that the whole expecting or wanting a man to be taller than you in heels is one of those things I think a lot of women should reconsider, okay? And it's not that I want you to go against what you truly desire, so to speak. And if it truly affects you, like if him not being taller than you in heels really affects the quality of the relationship, then okay, I'm not going to fight it, right? But I want to add the perspective of, listen, you're wearing those heels, what, 10% of your life? If even that much, it's probably way less than 10%. So you're asking for a man to be taller than you 10% of the time, all right? And if he's not, some of you won't even consider him. Then you have to consider the fact that it ain't your real height. That's your fake height, okay? Like, you ain't that tall, you know what I'm saying? When you take those heels off, he is still taller than you in many cases. So it's like, hey, again, I just think you should reconsider. I'm not going to tell you to flat out drop it. I'm just going to say reconsider. But yes, going on a date with more than 3-inch heels can create a situation where, one, it could intimidate the guy. Now, of course, if he's intimidated, that's a personal problem to a certain extent. But again, it's almost like, why do that because you're having a fake height in that moment? You understand what I'm saying? And believe it or not, sometimes a lot of men, they're not even aware that you were wearing the heels that big. So they're over here thinking, wow, she's really tall, not realizing, no, you're actually kind of short, but you just have these big old heels on right now. So it can throw off his perception of you, and even for him, because just as women have a specific preference when it comes to men's height, well, there are men out there who have preferences with women's height as well, all right? So again, I think 3 inches is enough, okay? Going past 3 inches is a little bit much, unless he's just that tall of a guy already that going 4 or 5, whatever, is not gonna matter. But it's one of those things that I think, all right, like, let's be considerate of it when you're going out on that date. So, like I said, there were some questions that I said I would answer at the end of this. So let's get to them. All right. So the first question was, are there any things you shouldn't ask a man on the first date? And so, in my opinion, professional opinion, it's not about putting in your head, I cannot ask this on the first date, or I should ask this on the first date. I think the first date has to be more so about more of a natural flow of conversation. And within the natural flow of conversation, granted, there's going to always be some standard questions. You know, we may ask, what do you do for a living? You know, do you enjoy what you do? Do you, you know, things like that. You know, where were you born? Where are you from? Little standard things. But I think all these other questions that we worry if we should be asking them or not, it's like if it comes about in the natural flow, then just ask it. But don't force things and break the natural flow. So it's like, listen, if we're sitting here having a conversation about our careers and our purpose and all these things, if you come out of nowhere and be like, so how were things with your ex? It's like, whoa, what do you mean? Like, we're talking about careers and you just hit me with, like, that makes it awkward. You know what I'm saying? So, but if in the natural flow of conversation, we're talking about the relationships that we've been in and how our experiences have been, and then someone wants to get more specific and say, hey, well, how were things with your last relationship specifically? That's, again, within the natural flow. And so that person's not going to be put off or thrown off by that. And if they're serious about you, they can probably have no problem answering that question. So focus more on just flowing, being yourself, and enjoying yourself. Because again, the energy that you give off is going to play a huge role on whether this thing moves forward or not. So be more relaxed, enjoy, and let things flow conversation-wise. All right, so now the second question I received was, will having sex on the first date ruin the chances of a relationship? So I want to answer this honestly, but let me say this. I am in no way saying you should go have sex on the first date, all right? You know, I mentioned it in many of my other videos. I agree with the idea that waiting is best. If we're looking from a spiritual perspective, that's what we're supposed to do. But I also acknowledge that most people don't make it that far, all right? And most people in today's world are engaging. That's not me saying you should. That's just me acknowledging that that's what happens for most, all right? And I am no different, as I struggle just like many others struggle. With that said, when it comes to having sex on the first date, it is possible to have sex on the first date and still end up in a serious relationship, even married. There are many examples of it. However, I would never suggest to somebody that you should be trying to have it if your goal is serious relationship, all right? Now, again, hear what I said, trying to have it versus, all right, sometimes in the natural flow of things, attraction, all this stuff, things happen, right? And I don't want you to like kill yourself over if it happens. At the same time, I do think that the longer you can wait, the better. And more specifically, you want to at least give yourself enough time to know what you're getting yourself into. Because if you as a woman allow yourself to have sex on the first date with the expectation that this will now proceed into more, then when it doesn't, you feel used, you feel cheated. Well, that's a huge problem. All right. But if you, out of your own, you know, for your own reasons, as a grown adult, decide you want to experience this and you are okay with whatever's going to happen next, that again is your choice. But also be honest with yourself, because if you're a woman that gets more emotionally caught up once you engage sexually, if your judgment gets clouded by having sex, all these different traps that so many people fall in, then that's more reason why you should be waiting. So again, is it possible to still have a relationship and marriage with sex on the first date? Yes, it's possible, but I would not suggest that being the route you take. All right, and so we got another question, and it says, Does the type of date he takes me on reflect his level of interest? So I like this question because I think it's something that I need to discuss in regards to the fact that I do think there's levels to it in the sense that, all right, I think if we're grown adults and this man is taking you to McDonald's for a date, chances are he's not that serious, all right? Chances are. I don't want to rule out exceptions, okay? Because there's exceptions to every rule. But chances are that's not a good look because most men would already assume that this would not reflect well on them, taking you there, okay? But what I want to say about this is I do think we need to create, there needs to be a change in culture when it comes to first dates. I really believe that we need to simplify our first dates. I think that for both sides, you know, the concern with a lot of men is money and time spent. For women, it might be sexual expectation and things of that nature. And I think that one of the ways we ease all that is, okay, we simplify the date. If we make our first dates about coffee dates, ice cream dates, walk in the park dates, simple, inexpensive dates, I think this is good on many levels. One, I think it takes away some of these concerns, right? Or it can help minimize them at the very least. I also think that the simpler dates allow for greater interaction so that we can see, do we really like this person or not? Because that's supposed to be the purpose of the date, to see, okay, do we get along? Do we have chemistry? Are we on the same page? I think adding all this extra fluff of this fancy restaurant or this nice concert or doing all these other different things, and it's like, yo, we're missing the point. The point isn't in the overall experience. It's more so about learning each other. So I personally believe if a woman is looking for something serious, maybe even letting that be known to the guy that, listen, on our first date, we can keep it simple, keep it nice and easy. And that way, we're not worried about this whole, it reflecting his interest. I think it's going to work to the benefit of both parties if that's expressed and that's implemented, and then we can also get through these situations quicker as far as seeing, okay, can this person stick around or we gotta let them go and move on to the next. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. So I wanna start off with a story. You may have heard this one from me before, but let me break it down for you. So let's call these two people Danny and Lisa. Well, Danny and Lisa met through